Why do you think you should be the next mayor of Colorado Springs?
Well, I think what I bring, first of all, is an unusual background of having started outside of city government. First of all, owning a small business for over 36 years. But secondly, fighting to save a local fire station brought me my accidental step into city politics. And then I ran for city council, was a county commissioner. Most recently, I served as a presidential appointee, as a state director for U.S. Department of Agriculture for Rural Development. So I served all of rural Colorado in my position with the federal government. So at all levels of government, I think I have a unique experience to bring to the table. And this, I think, is a really critical time where we're kind of in this balance of which direction we go forward. And there's a lot of issues that I'd like to tackle, and I think that I'm ready to do that in my position as mayor of Colorado Springs.
Yeah, let's talk about those issues, because you list a lot of priorities on your website. I want to get into one of them right now, which is public safety support. You've mentioned in the past that you want to work on staffing and training. How do you plan to do that?
Well, I think it's going to take really a broad-based swath at looking at what we do. But I think we have to look at other cities that maybe are doing a little bit better job than we are in terms of looking at retention. How can we retain more? Our retention rate for attrition turnover is about 9.5% here, and how can we reduce that down? Maybe provide incentives for current officers on the job and those that are in law enforcement. And then in addition to that, looking at new ways to recruit. How are we recruiting? What are the benefits policies? Are there things that we can look at to bring really a different perspective and certainly support of our public safety workers? We've seen some actions, I think, recently by the city that give the wrong impression that we don't support maybe our public safety workers. And I think that that's really important for us to do going forward, is to provide not only the benefits and the pieces that will help us better recruit and retain, but in addition, maybe sending the right message that they have our backs and we have theirs.
Yeah, you mentioned some cities that are doing things right. Can you tell me a little bit about some of those cities and those programs?
Well, when you look nationally at cities really our size, the retention rates actually are a little bit better. Everyone is having difficult times recruiting in law enforcement, but I think that looking for ways that we can utilize models in other communities and put those together in our own model makes a lot of sense to look at. We want to make sure that they get appropriate training. Maybe they need continuing education, making sure that we also hire dispatchers and we're able to fill those positions, because that's an important piece. When you dial 911, you want a fast response. And how do we work on the dispatch piece alongside of the law enforcement and our police department piece of it?
Yeah, but can you name a specific city or program?
I don't have a specific city or program that I'm pointing to, but I think as a model nationally, we can look at other cities and what they've done. I know that in cities like Greenwood Village, Colorado, they have also instituted the city council has actually instituted an ability for them to help defend officers in the case of things happening, so that they essentially, basically make sure that they have their backs when things do happen. When we see firefighters who have an accidental accident and the city council doesn't support them and the mayor doesn't support them in terms of defense, I think that sends the wrong message to our law enforcement as well as all of our public safety workers and our firefighters.
Yeah. Since you brought up firefighters, and certainly you have a history here, talk to me a little bit about what you would like to see done. I know you've brought up some concerns when it comes to the wildfire evacuation plan discussion that we saw at City Council. What do you think is a realistic evacuation plan and things we should be putting in place in terms of evacuation and fire mitigation?
Well, this has been a big discussion, and certainly I was a county commissioner during the Waldo Canyon fire and got started, sort of cut my teeth on working on issues to save a local fire station. So it's really near and dear to my heart. I know that people are very concerned about how long it takes them to get out of their communities, out of the city and through their road network. And I think that what I'd like to see is really a more robust conversation with the folks that are really interested in this issue. There are some national standards and models that work on disaster planning through the National Fire Protection Association, and I think we need to look at model, it's 1616, which is an NFPA essentially guideline that cities can look to, and counties, and working together as a region in terms of how we determine how people find their best route out. The other piece is it needs to be really open and transparent so that the citizens in our community know their best routes, know their neighborhoods, and really doing, I think, more of a robust discussion with the community on what they want to see. It's really important, as we knew during Waldo, trying to get folks out, and you've seen the photographs of being stuck in traffic. We've seen where other communities have been, whether it's Superior or even in California or other states, where they haven't been able to escape in time. And that's really a scary thing. So the pre-planning and the fire mitigation piece. We have $20 million that was set aside for wildfire mitigation. How are those dollars being used today to thin the forest so that we don't have these catastrophic wildfires? And I've testified on Capitol Hill talking about these very things, about how much less expensive it is to prevent the fire versus having to respond to it. So there are a lot of pieces together, and I think the citizens deserve to know how those dollars are being spent, how we can better engage them in the process, and not have maybe such a strident type of, it's not us versus them. The city should be the partner, and the citizens have to be in that partnership together.
Yeah, our time is kind of dwindling, so I do want to talk about a little bit. Obviously, affordable housing is a huge topic right now. What do you see is a fair balance in terms of managing our natural resources and making Colorado Springs a more affordable place to live?
Well, I know there's been a lot of talk about this water ordinance that came forward that the City Council is considering. I have some concerns with it because I think it's just reacting to a current situation rather than doing long-term planning. During my time as a mayor, within the first 90 days, I will put together a task force, bring together the city council, the mayor, the county commissioners, and do this as more of a regional perspective in terms of discussion of growth, how we grow, how much water resources we actually have. I don't think coming up with just a magic number really does us justice when it comes to having long-term planning. So we need to, as a city, determine what growth looks like, and it really comes down to long-term planning and engaging the public as well as the developers, as well as bringing folks to the table from all of the aspects, whether that's the water districts, whether that's the county commissioners, whether that's the citizens of both El Paso County and the city of Colorado Springs, together to come up with some determinations of how we really want to grow. Because regardless, if we just put an artificial barrier up, that doesn't help us in terms of opportunities for additional affordable housing. And some will want apartments, others may want single-family homes. And trying to attract good people here to Colorado Springs, whether that's for our military, whether that's for law enforcement and services, and the folks who already live here, sometimes they want the American dream to own their own home and have a backyard where the dog and kids can go. We need to provide those different kinds of lodging and our homes.
Yeah, all right, we are now kind of at the 1 minute mark, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to give your final closing statement to our viewers at home.
Okay. Well, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified. I have worked at the federal level, at the national government. I have worked at the state level and at the county and the city level, as well as being an independent small business owner for over 36 years. So my accidental step into government was from the outside looking in. And so my real reflection is to be transparent, to really be accountable to the citizens of Colorado Springs, and to bring all of the information and the institutional knowledge that I've developed over the last 20 years being in government, but also before that when I was a small business owner on the west side fighting to save a local fire station. So I would just ask for folks to consider that I would be a great mayor, and I'm really anxious and excited and passionate about this community changing and working on the things that matter to people, which is crime, and we love our open spaces. We love to walk on our trails, but those need to feel safe too. It's about kids feeling safe walking to school and having our roads paved. All of those components, I think, can come together if we do this together. So I want to be our voice for our city and our mayor, because I think it's important to have a voice for the citizens.